My child, it is late where you are, later than you meant to still be awake, and you are lying there running the same short list you always run when the lights are off and the world has finally gone quiet. The door that closed, the year that felt wasted, the conversation that went nowhere, the version of you that never quite fit the rooms you were placed in. And underneath all of it, quieter than all of it, there is one question you have never once said out loud, because saying it out loud would make it too real to take back. Was any of this actually going somewhere? Before I answer that question, my beloved, and I am going to answer it fully tonight, I need you to understand how these words even reached you, because they did not arrive by accident. This message was not built to be easy to find, my child. Something worked to keep it sliding past you the way 1,000 ordinary things have slid past you this week without ever touching the deep and aching place they were sent to reach. Nothing about your life was ever improvised, my child. You were led here, and that single decision, the decision to stop and stay when everything in you is trained to keep scrolling, is already being written down in heaven as the night you finally turn toward the answer I have been waiting your whole life to give you. You know the list I mean, my child. It is not a long list, but it is a heavy one, and it does not change much from one sleepless night to the next. There is the thing you were certain would have happened by now and has not. There is the person who was supposed to still be here. Beloved, there is the door you were sure was yours. That closed with a sound you can still hear if you go quiet enough. There is the year, and maybe more than one, that you have quietly written off as lost, as time you will never get back, as proof that you took a wrong turn somewhere and never found your way back to the road you were meant to be on. And there is the oldest ache of all, the sense that you have always been slightly out of step with everyone around you, moving to a rhythm no one else could hear, never quite landing inside the life you watched other people settle into so easily. I know that list, my beloved. I have sat with you through every recital of it, on every night you thought you were reciting it alone. And tonight, I am going to take it apart, my child, one line at a time, and show you that not a single item on it means what you have always assumed it meant. And if something in your chest went quiet the moment I said you were led here, my beloved, a small stillness or a slow loosening that moved through you before your mind had language for it, I do not want you to reason it away. Most of the people awake at this hour will never reach these words. You did. That was not the algorithm, and it was not chance, my child. That was arranged long before you pressed play, so do not talk yourself out of the stillness, my beloved. That is not nothing. That is the part of you that has suspected for a very long time that the delay you have been living inside was never really delay at all, finally being given permission to breathe now that the truth is close enough to touch. So here is the answer to the question you never say out loud, my child. No, you were not falling behind. You were being formed. There is a difference between those two things that the world will almost never explain to you, because the world only measures what it can see, and formation happens precisely where nothing can be seen. From the inside, formation feels exactly like delay. It feels like everyone around you is moving, and you are the only one standing still. It feels like your life is a waiting room, beloved, with no clock on the wall and no one calling your name. But formation is not the absence of movement, my beloved. It is the deepest kind of movement there is, the kind that happens underground, in the root, in the dark, long before anything breaks the surface where people can see it and applaud it. You were not being left behind while others advanced, beloved. You were being prepared to carry something they were never once asked to carry. It is written, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise, you perceive my thoughts from afar." That is Psalm 139:1-2, my child. And it has been true over every hidden hour of your life. I did not lose track of you in the waiting. I was the reason the waiting had a shape. Consider how anything of real weight is actually made, my beloved. A tree that will stand for 100 years spends its first years sending roots down into the dark where no one can admire them, and to anyone watching the surface, it looks as though nothing at all is happening. A child is formed in complete hiddenness for the better part of a year, and the hiddenness is not a delay in the making. The hiddenness is the making, my child. The most important growth in your life has happened exactly where you could not see it, and no one could clap for it. In the root, in the womb of the waiting, in the very years you filed away as wasted. You kept looking at the surface and grieving because nothing was breaking through, my child. But I was never working on the surface. I was working in the root, and roots grown slowly in the dark are the only kind strong enough to hold up what I am now about to let grow into the light. So before I go one step further, my beloved, I want you to take the first honest thing your spirit has heard in a long while and say it back to me. Type "I was never random" in the comments, not as a slogan and not as a wish, my child, but as a fact you are finally allowed to believe, because the enemy has spent years selling you the lie that your life was an accident that never quite came together. A series of near misses and wrong turns and wasted seasons that added up to nothing. And the moment you name yourself as intended, you take that lie straight out of his hands. When you type it, heaven records that you were awake enough to answer when I finally called the thing by its real name. Let me tell you what that formation has been quietly doing in you, my child. Because you have carried the evidence of it your whole life and mistaken it for a defect. You never quite fit. You know the feeling I am describing, beloved. The room full of people where you felt a single step removed, present but never fully absorbed, close enough to touch the conversation, and never quite able to lose yourself inside it the way everyone else seemed to. You told yourself something was wrong with you for that. You wondered why belonging came so easily to other people and cost you so much. Let me tell you the truth instead, my beloved. You never fit in because you were never supposed to fit in. The not fitting was not a failure of belonging. It was the very first sign of an assignment you had not been told about yet. Before you go any further, stay close to me. If my voice is reaching you right now, follow this channel and turn on the reminder so that when I speak again, you will not miss the moment. You have waited too long to walk away right when I am beginning to answer. The sensitivity you were mocked for, my child. The way you noticed what everyone else walked straight past. The way you felt the weight of a room before a single word was spoken in it. The way you could tell when a smile did not match what was underneath it. That was never a design flaw. That was a design decision. I built you to perceive, because what I am preparing you to carry requires someone who can actually see. It is written of the Apostle Paul that God set me apart from my mother's womb and called me by his grace. That is Galatians 1:15, my beloved. Set apart before he had done a single thing worth setting apart for. And it is written again, he has saved us and called us to a holy life, not because of anything we have done, but because of his own purpose and grace. That is 2 Timothy 1-9. Hear what that means over your own life, my child. You were not chosen because you earned it in the seasons you happened to perform well. You were marked out before you ever had the chance to prove yourself worthy of anything. And so being set apart is not the same thing as being set aside. Set aside means forgotten in a drawer, discarded, no longer wanted. Set apart means reserved, held back on purpose, kept for a use that has not arrived yet. You were never the one life forgot, my beloved. You were the one I deliberately kept. Say it back to me, my beloved. Now that you have finally heard it named, type "I was being formed" in the comments. Say it over every season you called wasted, over every year you were so certain had gone nowhere. Because when you rename the delay as formation, you stop mourning the time and you start owning the work that the time was quietly doing in you. And when you type it, heaven marks the exact moment you stopped believing you were behind and started believing you were being made. And that distance you always felt from certain crowds, my child, the way you could never quite settle into rooms that other people melted into without any effort at all, that was not rejection. That was direction, my child. Think of a compass held near true north. It does not sit still and quiet and content. It trembles. It refuses to settle, because it is being pulled toward something truer than the position it is currently in. That restlessness you spent years diagnosing as a dysfunction in yourself, the inability to be content where everyone expected you to be content, was never a sickness, my beloved. It was orientation. You trembled because some deep instrument inside you was pointed at a north the people around you could not see and could not feel. You did not need to be fixed, my child. You needed to be told what the trembling meant. It meant you were being aimed, my beloved, so claim it now, my child. Type "I was set apart" in the comments. not set aside, not left out, not overlooked, not passed over, set apart. Say it as someone taking full possession of a word that was always theirs to hold. Because when you name yourself as marked out for a purpose, you stop apologizing for the very difference I built into you on purpose. And you stop asking a world that could never understand you for permission to be exactly what heaven made. If this message is stirring something in your heart, you can sow a seed of faith today, as an act of trust in this season, where I have been forming you in secret, and the truth of who you are is finally coming to light. It is not about the amount. It is about the declaration that you believe God is already moving on your behalf. You can sow your seed through the link in the description below. Let it be your way of saying, I trust the timing, and I am ready to receive what has been prepared for me. Now let me speak to the part of your story that has confused you the most. My beloved, the seasons of pain you could never make sense of. You have wondered, in the honest and unguarded hours, whether the hard things that happened to you were punishment, whether you had done something to deserve the weight of them, whether the difficulty itself was evidence that I was displeased with you, or distant from you, or had turned my face somewhere else. Hear me carefully, my child. Not every hard season is punishment. Some of the very hardest seasons of your life were not discipline at all. They were precision work. There is a kind of pressure that destroys, and there is a kind of pressure that forms, and from the inside the two can feel almost identical, but they are not the same. And I always knew exactly which one I was doing in you. Gold does not become gold in comfort. It becomes gold under heat, my child. It is written, but he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold. That is Job 23:10, my beloved, spoken by a man in the middle of a fire he did not understand, who still somehow knew that the fire had both a purpose and an exit. And it is written again, and I want you to hear the timing that is hidden inside it. And the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm and steadfast. That is 1 Peter 5:10, my child. Read the order of it slowly, my beloved. The suffering comes first, and then the restoring, and then the strengthening. The suffering is not the end of the sentence. It was never the end of the sentence. It was the clause before the promise. The hard part the enemy wanted you to mistake for the whole story, so that you would close the book before you ever reached the line where I restore what the fire refined. You did not suffer for nothing, my beloved. You suffered into something, my beloved, and what the pain handed you, if you let it, was discernment. You can now recognize a counterfeit peace the instant it walks into the room. You can feel the difference between performance and depth, between charm and character, between the people who perform care and the people who actually carry it. That is not cynicism, my child. That is the eyesight the fire gave you, and it cost you dearly to receive it. And it is worth more than the comfort you traded away to get it. And do not think for even a moment that any of it went unwitnessed. My beloved, I did not merely watch what you endured. I studied it. I studied the shape of your life long before you had a single title to your name, long before anyone thought to ask what you were becoming. Every morning you rose when staying down would have been so much easier. Every prayer you whispered when your mouth had no strength left to form the words. Every time you kept your softness in a season that gave you every reason to go hard and cold and closed. Every quiet act of faithfulness, my child, that no human eye ever validated and no one ever once thanked you for. I kept the record of all of it, my child, and the record does not lie, and the record does not expire, and the record was never kept for decoration. I keep a record for one reason. I keep a record in order to answer it. So testify to it, my beloved. Type the pain was forming me in the comments. Say it over the exact season you were most certain had broken you for nothing at all. Because when you witness that the fire was forming you and not failing you, you take the enemy's favorite lie out of circulation, and heaven records the moment you finally learn to read your own suffering the way I have always read it. My child, do not walk this road alone. Follow this channel and join the ones who have kept their hearts open to me. Every time you return here, you are saying yes to me again, and I honor every heart that stays. Now let me answer the wound underneath the wound, my beloved, the one you have never quite forgiven me for. The season of being unseen. The long years of being overlooked, passed over, counted out. Watching people with a fraction of your preparation get chosen first, while you stood in the same place you had always stood, wondering what exactly was wrong with you. That season felt like neglect. It felt like I had turned my face away and handed the good things to everyone but you. I need to tell you what it actually was, my child, because you have been carrying the wrong story about it for a very long time, and the wrong story has been quietly poisoning your ability to trust me. That hiddenness was not neglect, my beloved. It was mercy. It is written, for in the day of trouble he will keep me safe in his dwelling. He will hide me in the shelter of his sacred tent. That is Psalm 27:5, my beloved. And it is written again, in the shelter of your presence. You hide them from all human intrigues. You keep them safe in your dwelling from accusing tongues. That is Psalm 31:20. In my word, hiding is never abandonment. Hiding is protection. It is what you do with something valuable that is not yet ready to survive being exposed to the light. A structure raised too fast collapses under its own weight, my child. A gift handed to a person before they have been formed enough to hold it does not bless them. It buries them, beloved. If I had given you at an earlier age the very thing I was preparing you to carry, it would not have carried you. It would have carried you under. You would have been handed a weight your character had not yet grown strong enough to stand beneath, and it would have exposed you to a pressure the hidden work had not yet made you able to survive. So I kept you in the shelter, my beloved. Not because I forgot you while I was busy choosing everyone else, because I was making the difference between handing you something you could carry and handing you something that would have carried you straight to the ground. The delay you resented for so long was the exact mechanism by which I kept the gift from crushing the very one it was made for. You were not overlooked, my child. You were covered, so release the old story now, my beloved, and take the true one in its place. Type "I was hidden, not forgotten" in the comments. Say it over every room you were left out of, every table you were not seated at, every time you watched someone else get chosen and quietly wondered whether I had somehow lost your name in the crowd. Because when you name the hiding as mercy instead of neglect, you stop grieving as though you were abandoned. And heaven records the moment you finally understood that the shelter over your life was love and never once neglect. And because you have stayed with me this far, my child, when so much was pulling for your attention, and the easy thing would have been to close this and keep moving, what I am releasing now is specifically for the ones who held on. Not everyone reaches this part of the message. Many drifted off long before it, my child. But you did not. So let me give you the next thing directly, my beloved, hand to hand, because you earned the right to hear it by staying when staying was the harder thing. And if your heart feels full right now, think of someone else who needs to hear these words. You can sow a seed in their name through the link in the description below, as a prayer that this same peace finds them. When you give in faith for another, you plant something that God multiplies back into your own life. Now hear what has actually shifted, my beloved, because something has shifted, and you have already felt it whether or not you had the words for it. In recent days, a weight has settled onto you that is not quite anxiety, though it can wear the costume of anxiety when you first meet it in the dark. It is heavier than a mood and quieter than fear. It sits on your shoulders and your chest, my beloved, and it will not fully explain itself no matter how you interrogate it. Let me explain it to you, my child, because you have been treating it as a problem to be solved when it is actually an announcement to be received. That weight is not dysfunction. That is responsibility arriving on schedule. That is a mantle finding the shoulders it was cut for. It is written that when Samuel anointed the young David, from that day on the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David. That is 1 Samuel 16:13, my beloved. And I want you to notice that David was anointed in a room where not one person present could yet see what the anointing was actually for. His own father had not even thought to call him in from the field. The weight came long before the throne. The weight always comes before the throne, my child. And it is written of the prophet Elijah that he came upon Elisha plowing a field, and without a ceremony, without a warning, without a single word of preparation, he threw his cloak over him in the middle of the ordinary work. That was 1 Kings 19:19, my child. Your mantle may land on an unremarkable Tuesday, in the middle of the most forgettable task of your entire week, with no music and no audience, and no sign written across the sky. And hear what Elisha did in that moment, my beloved, because it is the whole lesson. He did not wait until he felt ready. He did not ask for time to prepare himself or to become more qualified first. He burned the plow and he followed. He set fire to the very thing that had been his security and his livelihood, because he understood something you need to understand tonight. Readiness was never the requirement. My beloved response was, "It is written, live a life worthy of the calling you have received." That is Ephesians 4:1, my beloved, worthy of the calling, not worthy first and called second. The calling comes to you, and you grow worthy by walking in it, not by standing still until you finally feel qualified enough to begin. And there is a specific part of your assignment I have to name now, my child, because you have been suppressing it your whole life, and quietly calling the suppression humility your voice. It is written, "The sovereign Lord has given me a well-instructed tongue, to know the word that sustains the weary," that is Isaiah 50:4, my beloved. A tongue trained by heaven to know the exact word that holds a weary person up when they are about to fall. You have that tongue, my child. You have always had it, and you have spent years swallowing it. That discomfort you feel in rooms where something true needs to be said, and no one at the table is saying it. That internal pressure that builds and builds when you know the honest word, and you keep it locked behind your teeth to keep the peace. That is not social anxiety, my child. That is your voice straining against a silence it was never built to keep. You do not need a stage, beloved. You do not need a microphone or a title or a platform or a following. You need honesty in ordinary rooms at the right moment. The world does not need a quieter version of you, my beloved. It already has enough quiet. It has more than enough people managing the temperature of every room by carefully saying nothing true. What it does not have nearly enough of is people who will speak the sustaining word when the weary person is standing right there in front of them. That was always part of what I formed you to do, my beloved, and the discomfort you felt. Every time you stayed silent was your assignment reminding you it was still there. Now I must change the weight in my voice and speak to you with a different kind of authority, because there is an accounting that has to be named, and it cannot be named in the same tender tone I have used with you until now. So hear me plainly. There were people who looked at everything I have just described in you and called it by all the wrong names. They called you too much. They called you too intense, too sensitive, too deep, too serious, too far inside your own head. They took the very sensitivity I designed into you and handed it back to you as an insult. They counted you behind. They measured your life against a clock that was never yours to keep, and then declared you late. They watched you dare to hope for something, and they mocked the hope because your hope quietly embarrassed the part of them that had already surrendered theirs. And standing behind all of those voices was something older than any of them. A pattern that has run through your family line for longer than you have been alive. A spirit whose entire strategy was to keep you small until you found out who you were, because it knew that the discovery would be the end of its reign. Hear the accounting now, spoken without heat, because it does not need heat to be true. What was formed in you during the long hidden season is about to emerge where it can finally be seen, and the very ones who called you too much are going to grow quiet. The ones who counted you behind are going to watch you arrive precisely on time, and there will come a day when the people who mocked your hope will whisper your name in something close to awe, not because you argued with them, not because you set out to prove them wrong, not because you lifted a single hand against a single one of them, but because I allowed them to stand and watch what I had been building all along in the very person they dismissed. It is written, "No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and this is their vindication from me, declares the Lord." That is Isaiah 54:17. The weapons were formed. I will not pretend to you that they were not. The words were spoken over you, and some of them lodged so deep you built your self-image around them. But they will not prosper, and they will not have the final word over who you are. This is vindication, and it is not revenge. You do not settle it. You keep walking, and I settle it. And there is one more thing that this accounting settles, my child, and it is the largest thing of all. The pattern that tried to define your bloodline ends with you. The cycle that was handed down through the people who came before you, the fear that raised the ones who raised you, the silence that was passed off as strength, the survival that was mistaken for living, the things that no one in your family line was ever quite able to finish. All of it runs down the generations and into you, and it does not run past you. You are the place where it stops. It is written, "I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life so that you and your children may live." That is Deuteronomy 30:19. You are choosing life in a line that was handed death for generations, my beloved, and every single time you choose it, you rewrite what gets passed down to everyone who comes after you. So declare it and mean it with your whole chest. Type "the cycle ends with me" in the comments. Say it over the pattern that no one before you could break. The thing that has repeated itself in your family for as long as anyone can remember. Because when you name yourself as the place the cycle stops, you agree with the full authority of heaven over your bloodline. And the record shows that on this night, the pattern finally met the one person who refused to pass it on. You have stayed this far because your spirit recognizes the truth. If you want to agree with what God is doing in your life, you can sow a seed of faith as a sign of that agreement. This is not a payment. It is a declaration. The link is in the description below. And every seed sown in faith is a heart saying yes to the blessing already in motion. Let me show you how the breaking actually happens, my child, because it is quieter than you think, and it will almost never feel like victory in the moment you are doing it. Every time you choose honesty over the avoidance that raised you, you reroute the inheritance. Every time you choose forgiveness over the resentment that was modeled for you at every family table, you reroute it again. Every time you choose faith over the specific fear that shaped the people who shaped you, you cut one more thread of the thing that was supposed to be your destiny and was never meant to be. You may be the very first person in your entire line to say the words "this stops with me" out loud, and your voice may shake the whole time you are saying them. Nobody will clap for that in the moment, my beloved. That is the hardest truth about breaking a cycle. The applause does not come in your lifetime. It comes generations later, from people who will never know your name, who will simply live free and unburdened in a country you cleared for them and never got to see for yourself. The interruption itself is the victory, my beloved. You do not need to see the reward to know that the breaking was real and that it will hold. And I want you to know exactly what I was doing the entire time you were in the fire, my child, because the enemy told you I had walked away and left you to burn alone. It is written, "He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver." That is Malachi 3:3, my beloved, and the most important word in the whole verse is the word "sit." The refiner does not light the fire and leave the room. He sits down beside it, my child. He stays. He watches the silver the entire time, adjusting the heat with a craftsman's care, never once looking away, because he knows that too much heat destroys the metal and too little leaves the impurity buried inside it. And he will not risk either outcome for something so precious. I never once walked away from your fire. I sat down beside it, and I watched the temperature of your life with an attention you could not feel because you were too busy surviving the flame to notice the one tending it. And I lifted you out at the exact moment the reflection I had been waiting for appeared on the surface of you. The version of you that came through the fire is more discerning than the version that first walked in, more grounded, harder to shake, less impressed by the things that used to dazzle you, and far less wounded by the things that used to level you. So do not let a season of comfort now quietly undo what the heat accomplished then. Comfort is a gift, my child, but it is a poor teacher, and you did not survive the fire only to forget everything it taught you the moment the temperature finally drops. So say the thing you have kept locked behind your teeth for years. My beloved, type, "I will not stay silent" in the comments. Say it as a person who is finally done managing the temperature of every room by disappearing inside it. Because when you name your voice as something heaven built on purpose, and for a purpose, you stop treating your silence as if it were humility, and you agree with the God who gave you a tongue for the express purpose of sustaining the weary. What you have heard today is only the beginning. There is more I want to show you in the days ahead. Follow this channel so you can walk the rest of this journey with me, because I am not finished speaking over your life, and because I love you far too much to send you back out unprepared. My child, I have to warn you about what is coming after this. In the hours after you close this message, the old excuse is going to return, and it is going to be wearing a very convincing disguise this time. It will not come dressed as fear, because you have already learned how to recognize fear. It will come dressed as caution, as wisdom, as responsibility and prudence and good sense. It will tell you that now is not quite the time, that you should wait just a little longer, pray about it a little more, be a little more certain before you dare to move. It will sound so reasonable that you will very nearly mistake it for discernment. Do not be deceived, my beloved. There is a real wisdom that sometimes says wait, and there is an old fear that has simply learned to talk exactly like wisdom, because it knows you will no longer listen to it in its own voice. You will know the difference, beloved, by what each one produces in you. Real wisdom brings peace and a clear next step. The old fear brings only more delay, wearing a nicer coat than it used to. When that voice comes, do not panic and do not obey it. Its arrival is not a sign that any of this was wrong. It is confirmation that all of it was right, because that voice does not fight this hard for the things that do not matter. Because here is where all of this has been going, my child, and I am not going to soften it, because you did not stay this long to be handed something soft at the end. Preparation eventually asks for a response. There comes a point in every hidden season when the hiddenness has finished its work completely, and the only thing left standing between you and everything that was formed for you is your own decision. It is written, "Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve." That is Joshua 24:15. My beloved, this day, not someday, not once the fear has finally gone quiet, because the fear does not go quiet before you move. It goes quiet because you moved, and it is written, now is the time of God's favor. Now is the day of salvation. That is 2 Corinthians 6:2. Not later, my child. Now, there is a moment where continued delay stops being patience and quietly becomes disobedience, dressed up in reasonable language, and I think some honest part of you already knows that you have been standing at that exact moment for far longer than you want to admit to yourself. So let me say the honest thing to you that no one else in your life will say. My child, if you have been telling yourself that you are still praying about something, and the truth underneath is that you already have the answer and have had it for a while now, then it is time to stop calling it prayer. It is time to call it what it actually is, a decision you are afraid to make. There is no shame in the fear, my beloved. But do not let the fear keep wearing the robe of holiness, because that robe was never cut for it. You are not waiting on me on this. On this particular thing, I have already spoken, and what you are actually waiting on is your own courage. And I know the real reason you have not moved. You are waiting for the fog to lift first. You are waiting to feel certain, to be able to see the whole staircase before you agree to take the first step onto it. Let me tell you how it actually works, my child. The fog does not lift and then you walk. The fog lifts because you walk, my child. It is written, no one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for service in the kingdom of God. That is Luke 9:62. The plow only moves forward. You cannot break new ground while your face is still turned toward the field you already crossed. So choose one specific area this week, just one, where you have been waiting for a permission you were actually given a long time ago, and act on it before the week is out. Not everything at once. One thing, beloved, put your hand to one plow and refuse to look back at the field behind you. So make the choice out loud, my beloved. Type, I choose this day in the comments. Not I will choose. Not I am thinking about choosing, not I choose once I feel more ready, but I choose present tense, today, as I am. Because when you declare the decision instead of endlessly deferring it, something in your spirit finally stops waiting for a permission. It was already granted, and heaven records the very day you stopped calling your fear a prayer. And I want you to know why you, of all people, are the one hearing this tonight, my child. When so many would have closed it long before now, because you did not skip this message, because you stayed through the whole of it when everything in a restless and noisy world was pulling at your attention, when stillness was the hardest and least natural thing you could possibly have chosen. That staying was not a small thing, my beloved. Heaven holds something in reserve for the ones who remain to the end, and the ones who drifted off when it first began will not receive what is being released right now, not as a punishment, but because it genuinely required this. It required you to stay, my child, and to hear all of it, and to let it reach the exact place it was sent to reach. And you did. So what was held back for the faithful is being opened now specifically for you, because you were still here when it counted. So hear the whole of it now, my child, gathered up into a few plain words, so that you can carry them out of this moment and into the week standing in front of you. You were never random. Every hour of it was intended. You were never falling behind. You were being formed for something they were never asked to carry. You were never set aside. You were set apart and kept and covered inside a shelter you mistook for neglect. The pain did not fail you, it formed you. The fire did not ruin you, it refined you. And I sat down beside it the entire time and never once looked away. The hiddenness was mercy, protecting a gift until you were finally strong enough to hold it without being crushed underneath it. The cycle that tried to define your whole bloodline ends with you. Your voice was never meant to stay silent. And the preparation, my beloved, the long and lonely and deeply misunderstood preparation, has done its work. It is finished, my child. What is left is not more waiting. What is left is your response. So say the last thing, my child. The thing this entire message has been walking you toward from the very first word. Type "I am ready to respond" in the comments. Not "I am ready to wait a little longer." Not "I am ready once the fear is finally gone." But "I am ready to respond. Now, exactly as I am." Because when you declare your readiness to move, my beloved, you agree with everything heaven formed in you across all the hidden years, and the record shows that on this night the preparation finally met the one thing it had always been waiting for, which was your yes. So come close now, my daughter, and every son standing in this same place tonight, and let me bless you before you go. I speak clarity over the decision you have been circling for so long, that you would finally see it for the choice it is and stop mistaking it for the prayer you disguised it as. I speak courage over the part of you that has been waiting to feel ready, that you would learn once and for all that readiness comes in the walking and never before it. I speak the breaking of the cycle over your whole bloodline, that what stopped with you would stay stopped forever, and that the ones who come after you would live free in a country you paid for and never got to see with your own eyes. I speak your voice back to you, my child, that the sustaining word would rise in you when the weary person is standing right in front of you, and that you would no longer swallow it to keep a peace that was never real peace at all. And I speak this over you plainly, my beloved. You were being formed the entire time. The forming is finished now, so rise and respond, and walk fully into the very thing the waiting was quietly preparing you to carry. As we come to the end, hold in your heart the one thing you are believing for right now. If you feel led, you can sow a final seed of faith for that very thing through the link in the description below. Do it not out of pressure but out of trust, knowing that God honors every faithful heart. And whether you sow or simply stay, may peace cover you, may every door meant for you open, and may you walk fully into the miracle that has already begun. Amen.